Hello everybody, welcome back to In My Shed. I'm BC. I'm about to embark on a marathon effort. We got two new machines in, if you see the episode I posted yesterday, and it's an enormous journey to get them up into pristine condition. The cylinder grinder, the Johnson Shipman, mate Graham has done quite a good job restoring it mechanically. I've got to aesthetically clean and paint and get the accessories together and get some tooling organised. None of these machines work without the tooling to go with them, and that's one problem I've had with the tooling cutter grinders. I've had no cylindrical grinders, so I couldn't make the arbors with any accuracy, and if you start off 2 thou out, you finish up 25 thou out, as I found out the hard way many a time. So I'll give you a rough look at the machines. I can't detail everything that's going to be done, but I can give you a bit of a rundown of what I can see. Also, I don't have the advantage of having the concrete foundation set in for them, so they'll never run 100%, but I'll get them 99.99%, I'm bloody sure. Typical with the Harrow grinder, it hasn't been used for quite some time, and Mr. Rust's got underneath the top table, the swivel table and the main table, but there's a few items or attributes of the machines that I think I'll point out, and you may be interested in what we're going to get as an end result. So I'll swing you around and we'll have a look at the cylindrical grinder first. Okay, looking from the right hand end of the machine, you can see the power head in the background, motor up on top and grinding wheel main arbor. There's also a high speed internal arbor bolts onto the back there. Left hand side you can see the work head. That's powered, I think it's 8 speed by belt change, and that'll take me a little bit of getting used to. That swivels at the base and you can set that up reasonably accurately. Come across to the right hand end of the table. I'll get Mr. Pointer out there if I can get myself around back of the machine. Okay, there's an angle scale here. It's marked off with a vernier. That pin locks the table through to the sub table, and here's the adjusting screw. So the main table can be swiveled, I think it's up to about 7 or 8 degrees either way, and then clamp back down in position for taper turning. And this is a very, very old school machine where you would measure in inches per foot or millimetres per deciyard, whatever you want to call it, and get reasonable tapers on there. And back in the factory you would have had a taper gauge to snap on to check if they're okay. It's got a couple of table dogs at the front there, and they're for reversing the traverse lever there, hydraulic operated table. So a very, very complex machine when you first look at it. It's all mechanical operated. I think it misses a couple of lockouts. You can actually damage this machine by incorrectly operating it. Modern machines have got lockouts so that you usually can't, but I think it's something I should be able to get used to. All the fluid drains back off the table. There's a drain down there and there's a tank on the other side, so it's a reasonably self-contained unit. I hope not to make too much mess here in my shed. Okay, I'll take you around and look at the drive line. Okay, here's another look at the taper turning attachment or taper grinding. I had a look here. It's got 9 degrees either way, or as it says on the label there, it's 18 degrees included is the maximum, and that's a clamping plate there. There's also a couple of end covers to go on the table. Now swing you around to the work head. That's the main motor pulley up there. On the left, the bolt comes down and drives the main spindle, which has its own internally lubricated capsule. Now, if you want to, you can drive from that pulley to there, from there to this. That powers a little spindle inside the housing, and on the back there bolts a internal quill that is driven by a flat belt from the other side of this shaft, and this whole head swivels around 180 degrees and presents the internal spindle into whatever is being held in the chuck or between centres. Now, this particular machine is called a universal cylinder grinder because, believe you me, it is very, very universal. The head itself can pivot around that angle plate. The whole power head base down here swivels around, and the grinding head feeds in on its own table. So not only can you set a slight taper on the wheel head, you can set a very, very coarse taper to grind into a flange. You can feed into the flange straight, or you can feed into the flange on an angle. So the only other cylindrical grinder or true cylindrical grinder that I know of that has even more adjustment of this is the model superseding this that has a rise and fall head, and it looks more like a surface grinder rise and fall attachment up the top, and that's for actually manufacturing cutting tools, not grinding them, or regrinding, sorry. Okay, we'll go over to the front and see if I can get some footage there. Back again. I hope the light doesn't flare too much. I've got the rollover rope and trying to get a bit more ambient light on it. You can see the front view now. It's got two table dogs that are quite well set up with the spring loads that you can override and stick it out of the way and move the table past the position the dog is in. This is the table reversing lever that operates the internal hydraulics. That is the in-feed wheel. Now you can wind it in reasonably fast by hand, but as you move the fine feed knob, it moves in increments of 1/10 of a thou on the main gauge, so that's 2/10 of a thou coming off the diameter, so it's a fairly fine in-feed. Also there is a manual trip here. If you just want to feed it in by a small amount, each hit of the lever gives it 1/10 of a thou here, which is 2/10 of a thou off the diameter. Now that's a pretty fine grinding machine. And this wheel here is for the manual table traverse, and then you can lock it in to the hydraulic feed. So it's going to be a hell of a big learning curve for me. It also has a fine adjust here marked off in tenths of a thou, so you can bring the machine up to a shoulder. So yeah, all around it's been designed for extremely accurate grinding even by today's standard. Now this is the workhead as I showed you from the business end. The motor's mounted up on a belt tensioning plate, and there's quite a complex arrangement of belts in there. There's not enough room really to get the camera in to show you, and it's probably not what you're interested in, but you can see that there's quite a good graduated base at the bottom of the machine, so you can swivel that around to grind tapers on the front of a shaft. So there are so many different operations that you can do with this machine, and that's why it's called a universal cylindrical grinder. There is a coolant tank. All of the fluid runs into the table, down onto a surface at the back of the machine, and then out a hole at the back into a holding tank, and that's where the fluid nozzle comes off. So I'll be bringing you in stages. I've got to finish up the cosmetics. There's a bit of original patina, as it's called, or grime on the machine. That'll be coming off. It'll get a coat of paint in around the workhead there. Graham's done all the mechanical work to do. I've just got to get it up and operational and make it look a little bit better. The main control panel's been repositioned down here on the front of the machine with a push button to start all of the functions and emergency off. So yeah, all in all, I'm as pleased as piss about this. Now we'll have a little look at the Harrow. Okay, I managed to get my ugly puss into it again. This is quite a big and robust machine. Man, it's massive. It's like a Cincinnati number 2, but slightly elongated in the guts. It's got a little bit of the Tyler's machine that I've got out in the carport in it as well. It does need a fair bit of cleaning up. I lifted the top swivelling table off it today, and there's a lot of patina, i.e. rust fairy shit underneath this table, and I think all of it will be like that. I would say that it was decommissioned and just shoved to one side and not used at all for quite some time. It does have a couple of fixed stops off the front here, and I also have a couple of spring cushion stops. I don't know whether they will drop straight in, but I'll be trying that later on. The table swivels, I think it's 270 degrees, and if you're clear of the workhead, it can swivel 360. It's marked off in degrees here, and it also has a angle scale at the end of the table with a vernier on it marked off in, I think, 5-second intervals. So that's quite accurate. Once again goes out to 10 degrees either side, so it's 20 degrees included angle that you can reasonably easily grind. This is the first machine I've seen with so many axes on the wheel head. Quite surprised. It's got a bullet shaped motor, and I'll hope I'll be able to resurrect it. The previous owner told me that he was overwhelmed by the electrics. It's a 4-speed electric motor with reverse. Also the wiring disappears down through this first elbow here, and I don't think I'll be staying with that. There is another elbow that I'll bring out in a future episode. You take the motor off, that elbow goes onto the swivel head here, and then the motor mounts on the front of that elbow at 90 degrees to give you another couple of axes. My God, this is hard to believe. There's T-slot grooves front and rear on this machine, and I think I've wiped all over my nose, and a couple of mounts for attachments up on the top. The wheels are held on stub arbors that go into a plain collet here. One left hand, one right hand, just bloody well thought out. The whole wheel head swivels, and it has a rise and fall handle at the back. Now, a couple of things I have to do fairly soon to evaluate the machine properly is get the table up off it, and luckily being able to take the top table off, I think I'll only be lifting about 80 or 90 kilograms, and my engine crane should do that quite well. It has a massive lead screw going through the middle of it, and big hand wheels and dials that are 125, 150 mil in diameter and very well graduated, which is unusual for a tool and cutter grinder. But this machine can also be set up for moderate and small cylindrical grinding, and that was one of its purposes, to be a more universal grinder for inside the shed. And I'll bring those accessories out in a later episode to show you those. Once again, in true cylindrical grinder form, there's a trough all around the work area where the fluid can run off the table into the trough, onto the top of the body, and there's another catchment area on the side and an internal coolant tank. So it was put together with cylindrical grinding as part of its main function. Now, it does have one oddity that I haven't had to solve before. Instead of normal oiling points, it's got little male zerk fittings, like a little peni sticking out of the body with a very small ball in there that's meant for a hand-operated oiling gun, and I haven't got one. And I did a bit of a eBay search earlier, and I couldn't find one that would take a external fitting like that. So if anybody has one of those where I can get one, just give me a message please. Save me a bit of time hunting around. There's lots of other functions I don't know of yet. I don't know what that stop is there. Oh, it's adjustable. I've been through the manual today, but the manual is like something to come out with quite a lot of tool and cutter grinders. They really want you to find out how to use it on your own. Yeah, I've looked at that, the electrics, the old switch panel, I don't think any of that's going to be resurrectable. So if I do stick with this power unit, I'll be mounting an IP56 enclosure, I think it is, with a VFD that'll give me variable speed and reverse, of course, with an external cord, allowing it to flex in a lot of directions, but make it simple to wire up. That's one option. Another option is to leave the lead running down through the belly of the machine and put the VRD on the front panel down here. I don't know which way I'll go. But I've done quite a bit of talking. I think the best thing to do is just for me to dismount the camera and take you for a walk around. So I'll bring you back in a few minutes. Before we go around the back of the Harrow, I'll show you the rear of the cylindrical grinder. You can see the massive size of the idle. Well, massive for me, it's just under 2 tonne. Quite a good electrical cabinet on it, and hidden under the behind is the coolant tank, but all around quite a sizable machine. Okay, here we are back on the Harrow. I'm all cramped up on top of the shaper. The centre body of this machine is about 1.4 metres across with a massive lead screw. So I've basically oiled it and it freed up reasonably well, but I think I'll have to lift that main section off to get in there and lubricate it. It disappears under the top body, so that's going to be a little bit of an exercise. And you can see the horrible array of switches there. Probably okay when it was first built in the 1970s, but not really okay now. Now, give you a better look. There's a T-slot in the back of the table there for mounting indexing fingers, so that gives you another option. There's a bare pad just above that, and I don't know what the function of that is, but we'll find out no doubt in due course. And you can see the trough running down the back of the table there. That allows the coolant to run into that bunded area around the main riser column. Very, very plain on the front. That's the table longitudinal feed, and it runs on a chain that is currently disconnected. The table itself is very, very free. I think it must be up on rollers or balls. And here's the other side of the machine. You can see the overflow for the coolant into the sinkhole there. And if you pull that door out, there's a little coolant tank, and surprisingly the pump is still in it. So I have got many hours of work ahead of me on this machine, but I think I'll get it up into a basic running condition and evaluate. Of course, some of the other grinders are going to have to go. I'm running out of space, but see what I can actually do with the machine. I think there's even a internal scale so that you can see what's happening inside it. Now, one surprise, surprise, the table's only a metre long and very narrow, so I'm buggered on if I know what it was all about. I think it's a very special purpose machine. Well, that's it for today. Please like and subscribe if you think I'm doing a fabulous job. I'm doing my best. I'm going to have to take a fair bit of time to get these machines up and running. If you can appreciate, it's one hell of a job. I've also got my regular work to do and maintenance on the Kearns. No power feed to the table, longitudinal traverse travel. I think it's had a electrical failure in the fuses, and they're the real old salt-filled ceramic fuses, so I might have to bypass those and put some more modern gear inside it. And I hope to get a little bit of work coming through. I've got enough material now and some designs to start building a riding car for my train club, for the new club loco, so it should be an interesting couple of weeks ahead. Okay, see you later.